Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa ashabihi wa azwajihi wa zurriyyati ajmain. We are going to look at a very short introduction of the Adorno and Horkheimer. So, just basic facts about their life and what's the core of their thought, which interests me, for example, and their main books. So it's a very short introduction, inshallah. So let's start with Adorno. Not because I don't think he is the eldest of the two, but just because he's a bit more famous, I think. Adorno, he was born in 1900, I would say 1903, in Frankfurt. His full name is Theodor Adorno. I think there are some middle names as well. Yeah, Theodor Ludwig Wiesengrund Adorno, but he is known as Adorno and Theodor Adorno, and he's a philosopher. That's how we know him mainly, but I think he's also musicologist. I don't know anything about music and musicology, so I have never. And he's also a social theorist. So we know him basically through his philosophy, especially his critique of what is called instrumental rationality and enlightenment. They are not against enlightenment, but I think this is an internal critique of enlightenments, which is developed by Adorno along with Horkheimer. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to say that he died in 1969. Apparently in Switzerland. Must be vacationing there. So obviously he's a German philosopher, but German Jewish philosopher, and migrated first to the UK and then to the US, fleeing from Nazis in Germany when they came to power, or before they came to power. And they spent a good number of years in America. But I think both of them returned to Germany after the World War II and the defeat of the Nazis. So they're really, although they're Jews, they're really steeped in German culture and philosophy, and that just shows you the dumbness and idiotic character of Nazis. I mean, no one can be more German than Adorno and Horkheimer, but they were after them too. Okay, so the second one, Horkheimer. Horkheimer, as I suspected, he's a bit older than Adorno, 1865. He was born in 1865 in Germany, but in Stuttgart. And he died in 1973 in Germany, in Nuremberg. So he's a philosopher and sociologist. Personally, I don't think I've ever read him in any detail, except for what you come across in Habermas and all that. And obviously the book he wrote with I don't know, I've read those, but I don't know how much of that belongs to Adorno and how much. But my main focus has always been on Adorno. But I get the sense that Horkheimer is more of a sociologist, but I might be wrong. Okay, so that's just the basic facts of their life. So what about their thought? What interests me in their thought is their critique of modernity. Which you will find in their book called The Dialectic of Enlightenment. So it is a critique of Enlightenment reason. The Enlightenment modernity I'm taking here means similar sort of things. So the critique of Enlightenment reason, which they see as instrumental reason. I'll come back to this. What is instrumental reason? So in that sense, this critique is similar to, although very harsh and one-sided, to Max Weber, similar to some of the criticism or critique of modernity developed by Max Weber. So the dialectic of enlightenment is its full title is Dialectic of Enlightenment. I think, yeah, Philosophical Fragments. Philosophical Fragments, and this is a combined work of Adorno and Horkheimer. And among other things, it is, as I said, a critique of instrumental rationality. I'll come to that in a minute. And there's another text by Horkheimer, I think, on a critique of critique of instrumental reason. I'll see if I can find a title of that quickly. There was a book by Horkheimer, which was, I think he wrote that alone, which was published originally in English, I think. It's called Eclipse of Reason. But this same book was published in German under the title, so I don't know whether he actually wrote the book in English and then it was translated into German, but it was first published in English as Eclipse of Reason, and then in Germany, German it was published later as with a different title, so Kritik der instrumentalen Vernunft. So Vernunft is reason in German, so a Vernunft, I always keep calling it Vernunft. Vernunft, so that translates as something like on the critique of instrumental reason. of instrumental reason. So both, so one of their major theme is the critique of instrumental reason. So let me just explain in a very briefly and very superficially what this critique is about, because critique of instrumental reason is their critique of modernity and their critique of enlightenment. So what they say, modernity and enlightenment is a belief in reason, okay, just generally, and was the promise that this belief in reason will lead to freedom, individual freedom as well as social freedom, etc. And by freedom they mean, I think, both negative freedom obviously and positive freedom, and eventually autonomy, self-determination. But what happens according to Adorno and Horkheimer is that reason and its domination doesn't lead to freedom. Actually, it hasn't led to freedom. It has led to a very administered and managed, I guess, life at the individual level as well as social level. So what has gone wrong? That is their question. And their answer is that what has gone wrong is that in the name of reason, what has actually dominated in modern Western societies and capitalist societies is not reason as such, or not reason in its entirety or its in, but only a particular type of reason. And that particular type of reason they call instrumental reason. And instrumental, only one-sided domination of instrumental reason leads to not to freedom but enslavement of and a very administrated and managed life. So that's why they develop a critique of instrumental reason, just to show what is instrumental reason and how it leads to the enslavement rather than freedom of an individual and society. And obviously then they try to come up with other of reason which has been suppressed by instrumental reason. And that other of reason, I mean, they never critical reason, or I don't know, sometimes call it negative reason. But at the end, they are very pessimistic about any salvation or any triumph over instrumental reason. One gets the sense that we are all doomed. And that's why Habermas, although he takes their critique seriously of instrumental reason, but he doesn't share their pessimism. He thinks that modernity can be salvaged, And there's the other type of reason which he calls communicative reason, which can salvage modernity from the domination of instrumental reason. Okay, so what is the instrumental reason? I haven't told you yet. Instrumental reason is a sort of reason which is means and ends reason. So this sort of reason tells you, it doesn't talk about ends. It takes you whatever your ends are, how to achieve them. But it doesn't tell you whether this end is good or bad for your freedom, etc. And what happens is, and this sort of reason, it's if we want to give an example, would be technological reason or mathematical reason, or efficiency related reason, etc. And what happens is, our end was freedom here. Well, we said don't worry about end, so let's find means to achieve that freedom. Once we have means, then we will have opportunity to practice our freedom. But by focusing entirely on means, we have built a society which is entirely engulfed in and led by the pursuit of achieving the means. And by this way, we have been dominated by instrumental rationality. So we have developed an efficient individual, efficient society, efficient state. And the purpose of efficiency was to build a society in which we can be free, but efficiency somehow has become an end in itself. And this efficiency has actually killed any hope for achieving any freedom, because this efficiency requires discipline, self-discipline, and discipline by others. So what we have created is sort of disciplinary society in the name of freedom, most managed societies in the world. And the only difference is that management and that disciplines works in the name of freedom and apparently to achieve freedom. But what we achieve is discipline and management and not freedom. That's their thing. I think that's how I understand them. And although they don't focus on it's seems like a critique of capitalism, really. And by instrumental reason, we can see really it's a critique of, in a sense, if we look behind it, it seems like a critique of capitalism, because you adopt enlightenment, adopt capitalism by saying that we want freedom, but we can't have freedom because we have scarcity, and we can't have freedom without overcoming scarcity. But to overcome scarcity, we need capitalism. So that's how we adopted capitalism. But capitalism has sort of overtaken, and now it is only capitalism. Freedom phase never comes, because you'd never have enough. So you have scarcity mentality is such empty mentality, in the sense that once you think that you everything is scarce. It will always be scarce. Doesn't matter how much you have. So even though we live in the age of abundance, we still are engulfed by a scarcity mentality. Okay. So that's the basic point, I think. I was going to say a bit more about another of their main theme, critical theory, which is related to this, but I think we've already gone far too long. So maybe I'll take that again sometime. But I think that gives the crux of my understanding of their project and why I'm interested in their project. Okay. Thank you, Marcy.